What am I to do when this day is through?
Hi, it's Jackie Russo. Thanks for joining us for RazorBranding Podcast, the live video edition. I'm very excited that we get to have with us today Christa Billeaud, and I'm thrilled, and I think you're going to figure out why really quickly. If you don't already know her, you'll be pretty darn impressed with who she is and what she's accomplished. So welcome to the show, Christa.
Thank you so much, Jackie. It's so nice to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I was trying to figure out when we first met. It had to have been 1984.
I don't recall the year, but I know we were in high school together. Or
Right.
I think I was younger than you. So
You are.
Okay, yes. So we were at Sacred Heart in Great Coteau.
That's correct. And so
Yeah.
I got there in 84, so that had to have been when we met.
Okay.
And so I was like, that was a long time ago.
It was. Did you play volleyball?
I did. Not very
Okay.
well.
Neither did I, but I tried really hard.
But I mean, there's the Christina Kane volleyball players, and then I think I'm
Yes.
off the screen down
Yes.
here.
Yes. So I used her as my model, but never got there. But I tried really hard.
Right.
Sean
She's-
Kaye, Cynthia Kinsland, they were like amazing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Those are my people. Absolutely.
Yes.
It was really cute, actually, having Jordan be there for the last 8 or 9 years until she graduated. And she was in Sean Kaye's daughter's class.
Oh,
And
wow.
so it's like old home week. It was kind of nice, like a little reunion.
Mm-hmm.
It was very delightful.
Those girls are amazing.
Every one of them. I mean, it's just amazing to me what they've all managed to go on and accomplish, you know?
It's a sacred place. It's a
Literally.
sacred place. It really is.
Literally.
Yes.
And then, our son graduated from there.
I didn't
the year
know
before
that.
Yes, he
Okay.
graduated from Berkman's, and now he's in college at Millsaps playing baseball. Well, he's at home right now, but he was in college. And then Jordan's in chemical engineering at UL, which is a great program.
That is amazing.
Now, you have a graduate this year, right? College?
We do. Andrew graduated from LSU in accounting, and he plans to start work June 1st for a local firm, Darnell Sykes. So we're
That's
very
amazing.
excited about that.
That is amazing. I mean, I know a lot of people are graduating and not necessarily moving into a job already. So that says, I was a basketball player, and there's a picture of us in basketball uniforms, so I can prove it.
Oh,
See,
well,
Michael likes to make little comments during the show to keep me on track.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I see.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. No, I did play basketball. You remember the Pavi twins?
I do. And I was actually a statistician for the basketball team. Like I kept all the stats.
See?
So
There you go.
I used to follow you around and mark your numbers.
Do you happen to remember, and we are so far off the topic, I haven't even touched the cards yet. Do you remember a season, and it would have been probably my freshman year, Alicia Beard was on the team and a bunch of really great players, and we took first place in the district, I think maybe at Notre Dame, and we came back to campus because there's a Valentine's dance going on, so we got to go to the end of the dance in our uniforms. Is that a recollection you have?
Not at all. No, that escapes me.
I have a picture of it. That is the documentation I can provide. The problem is everyone else was in their full warm-up suits. And for whatever reason, although it was February and freezing outside, I didn't have my warm-up pants on. And my very thin, very pale legs are not attractive at all in this photograph. But I will find it and post it later because it's a keepsake.
It sounds like something we all should see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's blackmail material for sure. For sure. So
Okay.
you went to the Academy of the Sacred Heart, and then what was next for you?
So I went to UL, back then it was USL College of Nursing from 90 to 94. And I loved being a nursing student on UL's campus. And back then it wasn't near the program it is now. They have just made so many advancements. The technology is just amazing. Back then we used to have to start IVs on one another and, practice everything on one another. And now they have these robots and these mannequins that speak to you and they give you immediate feedback. And so it's amazing. UL College of Nursing is amazing. So graduated from there in 94. And then I went to work at Women's and Children's Hospital in Lafayette as a labor and delivery nurse. I did that for a while. Till 2003, I did that. But I also taught childbirth education classes. and breastfeeding classes and just anything maternal child health related. And so that was exciting. I did that for a while. And then I had a clothing store, a maternity clothing store during that time that my mom and I opened in 2000. And we had that from 2000 to 2004 when she passed away. And so I did that for a while. So I've done all kinds of things, but yeah.
Talk a little bit about SANE, because I think that's one of your biggest accomplishments, at least as a spectator observing your life.
Sure. SANE was an amazing blessing. I was in the junior league at the time with Faith Moody, who was the executive director of Stellar Place, which is now called Hearts of Hope. And she approached me because the sexual assault nurse examiner program had popped up around the country in bigger cities. And she said, we need this here. We have so many cases of domestic violence, rape, incest, molestation, and we don't have a good system for caring for these victims. Can you help us? And so she brought me a binder that was about 5 inches thick. I sat on my back patio. Now, at the time, I was working at the dealership with my dad and my husband and my brothers, and I was doing mostly philanthropic giving and human resource stuff, but I read the binder. It took me about 3 hours. I read the entire binder and I said, I'm in. And so I transitioned into SANE through Hearts of Hope. We created the program. So it was the first forensic nursing program in Acadiana. It's still going on today. As a benefit of that, I got to work with the DA's office. I got to work with the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office, the city police. And I was also able to work with nurses around the state. And so we started the first sexual assault response team. I also started the first forensic nursing program, like International Association of Forensic Nurses in Louisiana, with a group of other forensic nurses. And then I was able to train around the state as a trainer. So I love to teach. So that was really fun for me. And it allowed me to be with the most amazing professionals to learn how to provide really good services for victims in the community. So,
isn't there a big backlog in cases? Isn't that one of the things that y'all worked on, was clearing that?
So we did work a lot with the Acadiana Crime Lab, and there were actually some firsts through our work with them, some contact DNA and some other things that we were able to do with them. But we didn't work so much on the backlog. We collected the forensic medical evidence collection kit. Like, we created the first kit for our area, and we supplied them around. We worked with them to collect them, but we didn't work on the actual kits themselves in terms of the DNA and all that. So there is still always going to be a backlog, mainly because people who report don't always pursue. And so those kits sit for a long time. And if there's not an active investigation, an active case with people who are pressing the issue, then the kits just get shelved.
So moving through SANE, you're doing work at the dealership, and then you're kind of in the dealership world like full time, right?
Right.
And the dealership family has grown.
The dealership family has grown. Yes, it has. So my father passed away in 2012, and I became an owner and had to learn how to govern and how to be an owner, but not a day-to-day manager. And so for about 3 years, I was not in day-to-day operations. So from 2012 till 2015, it was mostly governance, so board work. I was a chairman of the board, and I understood the finances, but I didn't do management or operations. And then in 2016, my family and I decided to buy a Chevy dealership in Breaux Bridge. And so we grew into Breaux Bridge with Acadiana Chevrolet, and we did that for about a year. And in that, I became the dealer there and started day-to-day operations. And so that's what really got me in to the day-to-day work. We sold that and ended up buying a store in Abbeville, Acadiana Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram South. And so we now have Acadiana Mazda, Acadiana Dodge in Lafayette across from the airport, which has Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram and Fiat.
Yeah.
And also the Fs. And then also Acadiana Dodge South in Abbeville.
I have to say, I woke up this morning still thinking about that. I was so disappointed in myself. Really, I'm better than that.
Hey, look, I'm not that quick, so I would have missed it totally. I saw someone else's comment and I was like, yes, Fiat.
Yeah, Sandra Morrow's got your back all the time. Don't you
Sandra's
worry.
amazing. I love Sandra Morrow.
I do too. And she loves to catch me up when I'm not being the best I can be. So she took
Yeah.
care of both of us.
Yes.
So walk me through what dealership life is like during a pandemic.
Wow. So I think like everyone else, the pandemic has brought daily changes and interruptions to the business. So the first couple of weeks, I think we were just all still like everyone else. We were watching every newscast, every briefing, and we were just waiting to try to understand. After about a week or two, when we understood our directives better, my day-to-day operations became, how do I keep everyone safe? And as a registered nurse, I was immediately like, okay, hand washing. I mean, we had signs up outside of the bathrooms, in the bathrooms. I was teaching people how to wash their hands properly. We were talking about, we had sanitation crews, we were bleaching everything, we were using alcohol-based, and we were using multiple products to make sure that everything we were using was really going to work. Social distancing came a little bit later, but then really in our work, we like to, shake hands and hug and say hi, and we speak in close quarters. And so really teaching people what is social distancing, why is it important, and then maintaining it. So I think what's helped is the stickers we're putting out and all of the visual cues that remind us how to stay safe, how to keep our employees safe and our customers safe, and how to be compliant. So I guess the last 6 weeks have been just reminding people to be compliant, reminding people to be vigilant, encouraging people to be healthy. And then the most important thing I've done, I think, is communicating to my team, which is about 150 people. Hey, look, don't just believe what you read on, this blog or this Facebook. Like, go for the good information, the good resources. Go to the Louisiana Department of Health, go to the CDC, so that you can educate yourself with good information. And I think, like everyone else, the frustrating part is that the information is changing and it's not consistent. And so some days it's wear a face mask, other days it's maybe wear a face mask, some days it's, oh, you don't need it. So I think that's been the most frustrating part, is that we're still learning. Nobody, all the experts are saying this is changing and it looks different every day. So I guess another big thing I've done is remind people, look, let's stay focused on what we do best. Let's stay focused on the positive. Let's keep moving forward. Let's not get distracted by all the ickiness of it. Let's just stay focused and keep going. So
Right. I think y'all done a great job when it comes to how you've set up the dealership to be safe and healthy, and reminding people of this world we're living in now. If you look at all the changes that y'all have already made and might still be making, which ones do you hope stick around? Like, what do you want to take away from this and think, this is a positive thing? I hope this continues.
I think, I hate the idea of living in a world where we are comfortable being socially distant. Like, that to me is upsetting, because as a nurse, as a caretaker, as a Christian, as someone who loves to minister to other people and love other people, hugging and touching someone's arm and being close is important to me. So I'm hoping that we get to a place where that, eventually melts away. But I guess just good sanitation, like good hand washing, which has been around, since Florence Nightingale. That's the main way we prevent disease, is washing our hands before we go to the bathroom, after we go to the bathroom, before we eat, after we eat, anytime we're touching our face. So I just think good hand washing. And then I think the most important thing is, I think it's great. Work ethic is important. I value it. But if you're sick, stay home. Like, if you're sick, don't go to work and get other people don't expose other people, whether it's the flu or coronavirus or whatever it is. If you don't feel well, stay home and take care of yourself. Like that's the most important thing. So I hope that sticks around.
I hope it does too. The hand washing thing, and I'm glad you brought that up because I thought that we all did that already. I was shocked to discover we don't all wash our hands maybe the right amount.
No, we don't. And I think what a lot of people were so dependent on this hand sanitizer, my Purell, like this. And what they're saying is, no, actually the best thing is the warm soapy water, 20 to 30 seconds, good, manual scrubbing. I mean, that's what's most important. So I hope people keep doing that. Yeah. I had boys though, and I can tell you boys don't wash their hands as much as you would think they do.
Yeah, I have one, and I can tell you that we could use some more hand
Yes.
washing in that area. I totally
Yes.
get that.
Yes.
Did y'all have a lot of working from home, going to online sales, and how did you keep your team connected during that transition?
So we did have about 29 people who furloughed. A lot of them requested it. Like they were like, look, I have a health issue or underlying condition. Can I please go home? If I can't work from home, can you just send me home? And these are valuable employees we did not want to lose. And so we said, absolutely, go home. Don't worry. And so I think in week 2, we had quite a few who had left. And so the ones who could work from home and telework, we set all those up. Spencer with Comtech helped us out and we got everyone set up. And so we had quite a few people working from home. We also limited, so we didn't want more than 10 people in any space. And so we really cut back everyone. And yes, so we did telework. We still have people doing telework, and we limited a lot of people's hours so that they were coming and going at different times. They weren't in the same areas. We were very diligent in that. And then in terms of online sales, we always had the capacity to do online sales, but Acadiana, I mean, we're a community of family and friends, and we like to get together, and so. We never really embraced it, but through this we have. I know in the second or third week we were in the kind of the throes of this. We did 7 online deals from beginning to end, and everybody was like cheering because typically people come in and the way our laws are set up, and people need to sign contracts and stuff in the state. I think everybody was leery, but it's worked out beautifully. And now all of our vendors are coming up with the technology to support the online sales. And so we're able to do it just like any other company. Yes.
Well, and I love that y'all have been able to embrace the technology because I think it's important when we can use technology for good. How do you do a contactless delivery?
Okay, so now you're getting into the weeds with me, and I have not officially done a contactless delivery. But you know what? You'd have to talk to one of my guys specifically about that. But I do know that the guys, when they go, they wear their masks, they wear their gloves, they've gone to the homes, they have the person, they give them the pen, they let them sign, and then they keep the pen, those types of things. And but that's as deep as I can get with that, Jackie.
Sorry, didn't mean to test you. I was trying to
No,
stick to
that's
the
okay.
questions.
That's okay. That's
But
okay.
I'm fascinated at how people have had to adapt and adjust, and so I anytime that I can okay, well, how do you do this? Because to me, it's interesting to see how other businesses have tackled challenges that we're all having. And then we just kind of go from there. Ryan made a comment when we were talking about hand washing. He said, y'all have never been in a men's room, clearly. We need a YouTube video on a loop in the bathroom. And then Molly Dupre-Daigle, who's the mother of a bunch of men, said, I can second that. So your comments are resonating with the need for proper hand washing techniques.
Yes, yes.
And then Fidel, who I think probably works with you,
He
wants
does.
everybody to come see him for new Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, Fiat, and Mazda used cars.
Okay. Well, hey, we have people watching.
That's the most fun. I love that. How are you feeling about the future? I know that you're a very faith-filled person, and I would imagine that's done a lot to carry you through. But when you look at what the next month, year, decade's going to hold, are you hopeful?
Absolutely. I'm absolutely hopeful. I mean, my hope is in the Lord. So I'm not easily discouraged. I think for me, through all of this, I've had quite a few people confide in me anxiety and fear and just discouragement. And whenever we have doubt or things that can bring us doubt, we get unsteady. And it's been amazing to me that through all of this, God's grace has kept me totally confident and hopeful. And I know that's all His grace, but I am hopeful. I think that will rebound. I do think things are going to be tough. I think over the next year, we are going to see the financial repercussions of all of this. And unfortunately, it's going to hurt our community. It's going to hurt Acadiana. It's going to hurt small business. And so I know that we're going to have to prepare for that and endure that. But I know that there's always great joy and great blessing after great despair or struggle or suffering. And I've experienced that in my life through the death of my mom and dad and my sister, and through numerous trials that this podcast can't even cover. And so, but always God brings, He brings joy, and He brings it through people. And I've seen so many people just really stepping up and being good neighbors and wishing and hoping and praying for others and helping one another. And I mean, you see it in our community with the way some of our nonprofits have mobilized to feed people and to really provide for basic human needs and to keep people's dignity intact by supporting them in the most loving ways. So I know that we're going to be fine. I know that we'll overcome. And Acadiana has endured so many struggles as a community. And that's one thing you see. We support one another, we get together, and we're stronger for it. And I think that's why we're the best place to live. I think that's why people think we're the happiest city and the most beautiful place and the all the accolades we get around. I think it's because the people, we believe in one another, and we believe we have a strong faith. And even though some of our faiths are different, we love and respect one another. And so I do have great hope. I think we're going to be fine.
I would agree, and I see it with our clients. I think the more optimistic people are, the more that their faith is helping them pull through this, and the harder we work and the more focused we are, we can get through this together. And I think you touched on that. That's what our area is about. So talk to me a little bit about what it's like working now and running the dealership that you grew up in and watching your dad run. Is it added pressure being in a family business and having heard about it growing up and now doing it?
I think in the beginning it was added pressure because I'm very competitive. I don't think I knew that about myself until recently, but apparently I'm competitive. And when I got here, I felt like I had to prove myself. So even though I was an owner, and even though I was the quote unquote boss, I really felt strongly that I needed to prove to everyone that I was going to work just as hard as they were. And so I rolled up my sleeves and I got in the trenches and I worked in a lot of different areas that I didn't really need to, mainly because I wanted to learn the aspects of the business. And secondly, I wanted my team to know that I was in it with them, that if they were going to struggle, I was going to struggle with them. And if they needed help, I was going to help them. And so I put a lot of pressure on myself those first couple of years, and maybe even until just recently. I've taken more of the communications and upper level role in the way, since the pandemic. That's been the one big shift for me, is I went into communications mode and directive mode, and I got out of the weeds, because sometimes I like to play in the weeds. So I think that that's been good for me. But so I guess to answer your question, I adored my dad, and I had the highest respect for him, and I saw how hard he worked. But I also saw how much he struggled. And he would say, gosh, this business, it's so hard. This business is so hard. And my response was, how hard can it be? How hard can it, I mean, it can't be that hard. And it's a tough business. It's a tough business because there's so many different businesses within it. There's so many groups of people with different goals, with different skill sets, with different communication styles. It requires being nimble. It requires you being thoughtful, and so it's been challenging. But I don't feel like I have to live up to anything anymore. I feel like my team knows that I care so much about them individually, and that my brothers and I and Chip, my husband, that we're so vested in them and doing the right thing for them all the time. So I don't want to get emotional, which I do occasionally, but I think that I don't feel like I have to live up to anything anymore. I feel like they know who we are and they trust us. And I think you can see that by the guys and gals who have kind of stuck around and really worked so hard during this pandemic. We were an essential business. We never closed. And the people that were here every day just grinding it out and never complaining and just working so hard with a skeleton crew to try to give our customers the best experience they could have. I couldn't be prouder. It is going to make me emotional. I should have brought Kleenex.
But I think that emotion is tied to how much you care. And I think that's really what comes through. So I think about the time that you were at the dealership working with your dad and now have been at the dealership working with your husband. I've worked with my husband for 20 years. Which one's harder?
Oh, by far my dad.
Okay.
Oh, by far. Because everyone here thinks I have really high expectations, and I do. I set the bar really high. But my dad set it so high for me. And so it was definitely much harder. My husband gives me so much grace, and my husband is so good to me. I could talk about him for a whole nother hour, but he gives me a lot of grace. And at the office, he lets me exert and be assertive, knowing that the minute we get home, I'm his wife, and I take that role very seriously. And so I'm not a perfect wife by any means, but I totally honor and respect him as best I can at home. But here, he knows that we can butt heads and we can have different opinions, and I push. I really push hard some days, and he gives me a lot of grace. So definitely, it's much easier with Chip.
That must be something they teach those boys over at Como High School. Since Michael and Chip were classmates, maybe that's why we both have found that whole working with our husbands thing to be a balance, as it were.
He's a Broussard boy, and he is so kind.
I'm not sure that I'm as dutiful at home as you might be, so there may be some lunches we need to have in the future where you can give me some pointers on making that transition better. I fully expect a producer comment to appear any minute now, because he would say that you have made that transition far better than I have.
Hey, it's not easy to work with your spouse. It's not easy.
But now I am to discuss my husband's virtues, one of which is I'm pleased that he spelled all of those words correctly. So we'll start there.
Oh my goodness, Jackie.
Leslie Tucker Little is watching, and she too has worked for decades in a family business. And so she also knows the challenges of that. I'm sure she'll have some thoughts after the show to tell me. Now, Tim says that you lead by example. And so I think that Tim has provided, obviously he's seen you in action and realizes that he knows that that's how you're doing it. And that's a good thing. What would you describe as the culture like at your company? How do you think your employees, what values are you really focused on?
So I would say our culture is definitely very family oriented. And I say that, and it's easy to say, but what do I mean by that? We are family. Like when one of us suffers, the rest of us suffer, and we care. Through all of this, I have made a point, and so has Chip and our other managers, to really be present to all of our managers, but also to all of our employees. So when I get to work, part of my routine is to walk around and say hello to everyone, check in on everyone. And I do it to check on the pulse of the business and see how everyone's doing. But I do it because each one of these people are my family. And so I want to make sure that they're well, that they're mentally, physically, and emotionally present. And that's how you identify needs. And I'm a servant leader. It's my style here. And while I set the bar high and I push hard, I lead by example, hopefully by showing them that if you don't take care of everyone, if you don't put yourself out there and try to take care of the people who are helping your business, then what are you doing? Like, what's the point? So I think the culture is very family focused in terms of that. Now, our culture's changing because our business is changing every day. The way we sell cars now, customers know everything about the cars before they get here. They've been shopping for 3 to 6 months online. They know more about the vehicles sometime, especially the specific one they want, than maybe a new salesperson does or has had time to train on. And so our job now is helping them find the best vehicle for their budget, because sometimes people come in and they want the top of the line, but really their budget is not, it's not a good decision to put them in a top of the line. And the last thing we want to do is put them in something they can't afford. So, we help people get into the right vehicles. And so for me, it's about integrity. It's about doing the right thing. It's about trying to take care of the customer and really think about that customer experience and make that customer experience the best it can be. We're an older facility. This building was old when my dad was here. And because the I-49 and kind of, we were kind of waiting for different things, we were pausing and not so aggressive in rebuilding. But so for me, what that says to me, it's like going to your grandma's house. It's like, it's okay that the house is old, as long as it's filled with love and it's warm and you're taken care of while you're there, you're okay with it. And so it's not an excuse. It's really how I believe. We'd like to make updates sooner than later. And now with Corona and the oil prices and everything else, we'll see what that looks like in the future. But for me, I feel like if we make this place warm and loving and we do the right thing, then our customers are gonna want to come. So.
How much of your job sometimes is transitioning from educating people about cars and showing them features to financial advice and explaining, well, this is really what you can afford based on your budget? And because how financially savvy are people when they walk in with the top of the line in their eyes? That's got to be a hard transition to say, I know you want that fully loaded Dodge Ram truck, but this is actually the model that would be better suited for you.
Mm-hmm. So our finance managers and our sales managers help direct our salespeople in terms of those numbers and the reality of what people's budgets can afford. And, if someone's trying to rebuild their credit because maybe they have bad credit, the last thing you want to do is let them come in and buy a car they can't afford. So really understanding people's needs and helping them rebuild their credit by putting them in maybe something that is not so cute, not fully loaded, not the best and the brightest, but you can afford to pay your note every month. And in 6 months or a year or 2 years, you have, equity in the vehicle, or, you have your credit score has gone up, and now you can afford something that is nicer. And so our sales managers are great at that. And they do an amazing job. They really do.
That's awesome. How do you encourage professional development for yourself, for your team? I mean, are there classes y'all go to, books you read?
So we have through our manufacturers, we always have continuing education in terms of the product, in terms of service. We do annual evaluations here. We give opportunities to our managers. Just recently, one of my managers expressed a need, and I said this year. And so January I told him to find something this year to take, and now I don't know where he is with that, with all of this, but we have, when they verbalize a specific need, we get it for them. So most of our managers are trained monthly through the manufacturers, and then we always have additional opportunities that we support if they're interested. So
I think that's important, with the brand that y'all have built as a family-based business, and I think people come to you because of that generations of relationship. Being able to do both sides, keep that personal relationship going and the professional development, I think that's a really important part of your overall brand. So I'm glad that y'all have such a path of saying, you want to learn it, make it happen.
Mm-hmm. We actually brought in a trainer this past year to talk to us about millennials, and not just selling to millennials, but it was communicating with millennials who are customers and employees, because a lot of our managers are getting older, and their communication style and their drivers are so much different. And so that's something that I had forgotten about on the first time you asked, that we just did not too long ago. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that's going to allow you to not just survive, but thrive in this time. Because when you can treat people the way they want to be treated, that's how you continue to build that family brand.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Of course. What advice would you give to the younger you?
Oh, stay away from sugar. It's not your friend. Yeah. So I really, as you get older, I'll be 48 this year, and just being more focused on my health. I think the advice I would give to the younger me would be, take care of yourself. Like, I know you want to take care of everyone else, but put yourself in that lineup. So take care of yourself physically. I take care of myself spiritually. I take care of myself. Like, I know that I'm not just a body, right? I take care of my spirit, but my poor little body, I feel like I got a Peloton about a year ago. And I have really made it a priority to take care of myself and to exercise every day for over a year now, which was not always the case. And so I'm proud of myself for that. But more than anything, I wish I would have started, 10 years ago. I was always in and out of exercise. I'd exercise for 2 or 3 months, and then I'd stop for 3 or 4 months. I'd exercise. So it would be take care of myself.
I think that's a good one. And I'm always, when somebody says, oh, I wish I'd started sooner, I always think, oh, I'm glad I didn't wait 10 more years to start. At least I started when I did.
You're right.
So who's your best friend?
Really, my best friend in the whole world is Chip.
And what would he say he likes the least about you?
Ooh.
That was on the list.
Yeah, but I didn't look at that one. Okay. What does he like the least? He does not like it when I chew ice. And
that's good. There's only one. I'm sure that's the only thing.
I think that's it. That's got to be it.
I mean, every other way, I'm certain that you are perfect. How would you like to be remembered?
Oh, gosh. If people remember me, that I tried to bring everyone to Jesus that I could, that I tried to always say kind words, that I prayed for them at the most difficult times in their life and they felt God's peace or grace, that I lived that I was authentic in my living, and that I modeled Christ's behavior as a servant. If they said any of those things, I'd be like rock star status in my mind.
I would imagine that you would have all of that on your list and more. So, for as humble as I know you are, I'm impressed that you were able to provide that list, because I think that's a good list. Chip has written in and confirmed it is you chewing ice. Exclamation point, exclamation point.
So we'd win the newlywed game. Yeah, there you go.
That may be the next show, by the way. I'm all about doing a newlywed game. Tim has said kindest soul. He's added that to the list.
Oh, he's a good guy. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So what event has most shaped who you are now?
Oh, I would say, I wouldn't say it's an event. I would say suffering has shaped who I am now. I think that through God's grace, I have been able to suffer greatly over the years in many different facets through loss, through physical suffering, through just hard times in my life. And I think that suffering kind of hollows us out. And I don't know if it was Mother Teresa, I don't know who said it, but it's like the more suffering hollows you out, it makes your vessel open bigger. It makes you more able to receive God's grace. And so for me, suffering has made me who I am because his grace is how I live now. I don't, he makes everything new, and he makes me new, and he makes me strong. And if it wasn't for his grace, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I wouldn't have taken the helm. I wouldn't have stepped up and tried to learn this business. I would have, I'd have packed up everything and sold it all and moved to the beach. But that's not where he's brought me. He's brought me here. And so I would say suffering. I think suffering, and then, of course, his grace. Yeah.
I love that perspective. And I've never heard it put that way. As a parent, I think a lot about the fact that I want my kids to have hardship. And I think that sounds really bad when you say it. But in the way, and so the way you've just really crystallized that for me as to what I actually mean when I say that. That's, I know this is supposed to be about you teaching people, but it's mostly about me learning from you. So that's a huge takeaway for me.
Yeah, it's I think that perspective shift as a parent helps you parent better, because not you necessarily, but all of us, because if we try to protect our kids from suffering all the time, we are doing them a huge disservice. Growing up, my mom, and I don't want to get too off the topic, but my mom always said, God first, Adrian, her husband, my dad, second, like he's first really for her in terms of family, and then kids later. Kids are last. And I grew up at a time where kids sat at a separate table, and you didn't interrupt the adults. Like, your feelings did not matter. If you didn't like the peas, you didn't get up from the table until you ate the peas. And your tantrum was not going to be the focus of the family dinner. Like, we had, dinner together every Sunday for lunch, and then another dinner every Sunday evening. And then we ate together as a family, just an immediate family every night. And so for me, that focus of your kids need to suffer. They need consequences, but it's the natural consequences. We all need that. And I think it makes us better parents, but I think it makes our kids better kids.
I agree. Molly Dupre-Daigle says yes.
Yes, I love Molly Dupre-Daigle.
I do too. She's so awesome. But to that point, I think so many parents try to protect their kids and save them and make it easy for them. They talk about the helicopter parents and the lawnmower parents. And I think it's having those hardships and having that suffering. That's where we're really doing our job as parents. Do you remember it was an Oprah scandal years ago about a woman who said that her and I'm not going to quote it very well, but that her children were replaceable, but her spouse was not. And all of the women of America rose up against her, basically. Do you remember this at all?
No, I didn't. I was not an Oprah follower.
I'm going to find the article and send it to you. It's enlightening. But
it's so true, right? Because you raise your kids to grow up and go out into the world. You don't raise them for yourself. And they're not my kid. I have two sons, 20 and 22. They're not mine. They're God's. And they're going to go do whatever it is they're going to do, regardless of what I say or want or do. I've raised them the right way, but my husband's mine for life. My mom used to say, don't put the kids in the bed with you. And I know I have friends who had kids who slept in the bed, but she was like, look, that's your bed. That's for you and your husband. Your kids, if they're sick, go get in their bed or go to their room, but keep that bed just for you and your husband. because one day those kids are going to leave. And if you ever put your kids before your husband, he might leave too. And I didn't want that. So yeah.
That's awesome. I think your words are resonating a lot. All of a sudden, the comments are flying. Now, Greg wants to know who your favorite kids are, but I'm not going to put you on the spot with saying who your favorite is.
So sometimes I feel like Greg is one of my sons as well. But I don't have a favorite. Both of my kids, one is so much more like his dad. The other one's so much more like me. And so I fight more with the one who's like me. Like he and I are constantly arguing because we're so much alike. And the one who's like his dad, we get along like just like Chip and I do. I mean, we are like so complimentary and so, but I love them both so much. And I would never have a favorite because that's just, I mean, not realistic. Like I don't even think that's possible.
Chip gets to be your favorite.
Chip is my favorite. Yeah.
What advice would you give to this year's graduates?
Oh, wow. Well, along the lines of suffering, what a blessing. Like, what a blessing that you have succeeded and you have gotten to this point, and the family and the people who are closest to you get to celebrate with you in such a special and private way. But this is life, and it's bigger than us, and it's bigger than what we planned for. I never planned to be sitting in this chair running car dealerships. Like that was not something that was in my plan or even in my like dreams. But God brings us to different situations so that we can grow, and don't waste this opportunity to really take in what this means for you and all the blessings that have come of it, even without the pomp and circumstance of the graduation, even without all of the social media telling you how great you are, and all the pictures that are flawless, and all of the airbrush stuff and the hashtags. This is reality, and it's hard, but you're going to be better because you're going to get through it, and you're going to go to college, or you're going to go to secondary school, or you're going to start your job, or you're going to go to beauty school, or whatever you're doing. Seek your passion, and this will only be one teeny little window in a whole lifetime of experiences. I remember I was struggling with my second child. He was very strong-willed, and my mother-in-law, who is one of the wisest people I know, said, "Christa, this is just one little brief moment in an entire lifetime." She was like, "Don't let this bother, like, let go, let this go. It's going to be fine. This too shall pass. You are going to get through this. And when you look back and you realize that you overcame this, you're going to feel so much stronger, and you're going to know that you can do anything." So just take this in as a great opportunity to learn about what you value, what's important. Look at the people around you who really love you, who are trying to make up for the loss that you're suffering, and just appreciate them and take them in, and don't let this hold you down too long. It's okay to grieve. I believe that grief is important. And so it's okay to grieve, but only grieve for a short while, because you have your whole lives ahead of you to do amazing, great things and experience joy. And it's right around the corner. Yeah.
Wise words. What's your pettiest pet peeve?
Oh, okay. I'm going to tell you.
Tell me.
I have an office down a hall, and when people talk on their speakerphone, and I'm down the hall and I can hear the whole conversation, I get up and I walk down there and I close their door. And I'm thinking to myself, I do this every day. Well, do you just like seeing me? Like, hello, close the door. So that is my pettiest pet peeve, when people talk on speakerphone in an office where other people can hear.
I think that's a fair one. Okay, so we are about to move into the lightning round, but before we do, we have one last insight question, which is, what question do you wish I had asked, and what would the answer have been?
Oh, I don't know. Um, I don't know. I don't
Are
know.
you still painting? That would be a good one.
Okay, I'm not still painting. I stopped painting about 4 or 5 years ago. And I probably will get back to painting one day when I'm retired. But it was a season, and thanks to Pat Venable, I learned amazing technique and skills and had a great time. But it's not part of my daily routine anymore.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the lightning round.
Lightning round. Okay, I'm ready.
Think fast. All right. Favorite place on earth?
Okay, can I have more than one?
You can have as many as you want.
Okay. Favorite place on earth, if you ask all my friends, they'll tell you it's at home with Chip on the sofa. So that's my favorite place on earth. And that's where I spend most of my time when I'm not working or out. Second favorite place is any beach. And then my third favorite place is with really people in my church or from my church or from any church, anybody who loves the Lord Jesus Christ and they want to talk about him. That's my favorite place because I love to talk about Jesus. So any of those three. And if I could have Chip and people who love Jesus on the beach, then that would be my favorite place.
That's Nirvana.
Nirvana.
Movie you can't turn off.
I'm not a big movie buff.
Okay.
I don't have one.
That's all right. TV show?
We just finished the series of Homeland. It was amazing. I mean, it's truly binge-worthy. Homeland. But other TV series, I like I love all the NCIS series, and that's about it.
Those are good answers. Book? Favorite book?
Anything by Dr. Brant Petrie is my favorite book. I really love to read about the saints.
The religious saints, not the football team.
Correct.
Just to clarify.
So any book on the life of saints or their diaries, like Catherine of Sienna's diary or Saint Therese of Lisieux's diary. So I love diaries because they were just so humble. And through their diaries, I get to read about how they prayed because their diary was very often them just talking to God. And so these beautifully written prayers in just such humility. So for me, I love that because it helps me ground myself and it helps me to pray better. So any kind of books like that. And that's changed through the years. When I was in my 20s, it was, Maxwell and all the marketing books and all the leadership and success books. And then in my 30s, started my religious books. And now it's religious books.
Favorite saint?
I have a bunch of favorite saints, but I would say Saint Faustina, Saint Therese of Lisieux, Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint John of the Cross. Of course, Saint Rita, who is, she's after my heart. And Saint Madeleine Sophie and Saint Philip of Christian. Yeah.
I figured they would make the list at some point.
Yes, they're in there.
So Pat Venable's watching. He said, great presentation. Thanks for remembering our artistic journey. Love you, Chris. So proud of you.
Oh, she's so great. Yeah, thanks.
We're glad she's watching. And Jessica says, highly recommend Saint Teresa of Avila, Interior Castle. She's a feisty and awesome saint.
She is feisty. She's the saint that tells us all that we're all called to holiness. So I love her because she helps people understand that being holy and praying all the time and having a relationship with Jesus is not just for priests and religious. It's for you and me and all of us. So she's super great.
Do you listen to podcasts? Do you have a favorite one?
Yes. Okay, so I listen to podcasts when I walk. So Bishop Barron, I love Word on Fire. Matt Fradd has one called Pints with Aquinas. And so if you are like into metaphysics and philosophy and theology. It's super great because he takes St. Thomas Aquinas and his Summa, and he really brings on great authors and scholars to like get into like deep thought. So sometimes I have to listen to him twice. And then I listen to, I listen to Abiding Together podcast, which is great. I listen to, Father Mike Schmitz and Father John Ricardo.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know this is going to maybe be like trying to choose between which kid you like the best, but what's your favorite car?
Okay, so either a Mazda or a Jeep.
Okay.
Jeep Grand Cherokee is my favorite. Mazda CX-9 is my favorite. So either one of those, and you're riding safe in style. And I like to ride kind of high up. I don't like to be really low in my cars or my vehicles. So I feel safe in them. They have the highest safety ratings. They get great gas mileage. And I know right now that's not a big deal, but for me, I mean, I've always been one to, be cautious with that. I drove a Dodge Caravan for about 15 years when I had like little ones. And I have to tell you that is the most amazing vehicle for moms, because the doors open automatically. When you have babies and you're carrying things, you just walk up and set things in. You don't have to lean, and your kids can jump in the back. And it was just, I loved my Caravan, but I didn't have a use for it anymore. So now I'm out of the mom mobile, and I'm driving a CX-30, a Mazda CX-30, which is very sporty, and I like it very much. But I prefer the CX-9 because I like the room.
Right. I rocked a mom van for almost 2 decades, and Michelle Ezell and I joked about how everybody has this whole soccer mom thing about it. They are the most loaded, most comfortable, easiest to drive. They just have this reputation that they're way cooler than they appear.
They're way cooler than they appear.
Do you have a favorite festival?
No, not really. I'm not, I love the idea of festival, but I don't have people who really want to go with me. And so I love music. Like, I'd be the one dancing by myself when nobody else is dancing with me. And so, but my boys and Chip have never been real big festival goers. So the times I do go, and I do go every year, but I don't stay like out all week. I just go, I'll either go with like my sister-in-law, Arlene, likes to go. And so I've met them out there a couple of times. And then, just meet friends out, but I don't have a favorite. I like them all.
That's good. If you were going to do karaoke, what song would you perform?
Okay. I can't sing, right?
Well, me either. But okay. I have a karaoke song, if I could sing.
So probably Salt and Light by Lauren Daigle.
Oh, see? Perfect choice.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect choice. I want her to do the show. How awesome would that interview be?
It would be awesome. If you need a studio hand, I'll be happy to help you. I met her once, and she is so beautiful, like just the most beautiful soul.
Yeah.
And kind and humble. And when she sings, I cry. I cry all the time. So she's amazing. I listen to her all the time.
We had tickets for her concert in July, which is now, going to be rescheduled. And my girls are super sad.
I didn't know it was rescheduled. I have the tickets on my fridge.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be rescheduled. Okay,
I didn't know that. Well, that's good, because I had a wedding rescheduled for that night. And so I was going to have to miss her to go to the wedding, because I'm not going to miss the wedding. And because I love weddings, and I was going to give her tickets to my people.
Don't let go of them. Hold on to those.
Oh, very good. I will.
I feel like we just had a whole pandemic so that you could go to both events.
Yes.
Talk about cake and eat it too. Favorite food?
Favorite food, probably pizza. My favorite pizza is the Avery Island pizza on the cauliflower crust from La Pizza Mia.
That's a good choice. Favorite leisure activity is the couch with Chip, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Favorite way that you treat yourself?
Facials. I get like 1 or 2 a year, and it's kind of like a little guilty pleasure. My other guilty pleasure, though, I'll tell you.
Tell me.
It's kind of petty. but I like beating my neighbor on the Peloton. He can't seem to hit the scores I hit. And I have a little ego thing about it. And now that I know it bothers him, it's like a thing. And so, Jonathan, I'm coming after you.
I love the fact that you'd already admitted earlier that you were super competitive. So now this is of no surprise to anyone.
Yes, I am.
All right, so our last fave, which is not usually on the list, but I'm gonna have to add it now. Favorite Bible verse.
Ooh, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, from Deuteronomy 6:5.
I cannot think of a better way for us to close. Christa, thank you. This was
Thank
a
you so
beautiful
much.
hour. I appreciate your time taking away from your job to give us this insight into who you are and what you're about. And I appreciate you talking with us today.
Thanks so much, Jackie. I appreciate all you're doing for our community.
Thank you. And to everyone else, thanks for watching and commenting and being a part of this. Make sure you come back on Friday. I think you're going to really enjoy hearing what Charlotte Cryer has to talk to us about with moving Caroline and Company into a new space and opening in the middle of a pandemic and what that's been like. Thank y'all very much, and we'll see you next time.
To do. Wednesdays.